Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Deep Root Solutions. So the topic of Hijrah has been weighing on my heart. So I wanted to present a few possible solutions to some startup problems that many people seem to be having. From what I've seen as far as Hijrah is concerned, people typically are going it alone, and in some cases connecting on through online groups on WhatsApp, Telegram, etc. prior to going. Maybe they might connect in person in some respects along the way. But if we do have some initial contacts, and then people who are on the ground who have become knowledgeable and have a heart for it, and or the resources and logistical knowledge to do so, here are a few possible options for kind of a soft way to land for Hijrah individuals, couples, and families. People that their heart is set on making Hijrah and leaving the UK, leaving the States, Canada, etc., and coming to places like someplace in the Arab-speaking world, perhaps Turkey, Southeast Asia, Africa, wherever it may be. We can talk about those items in another video. But for now, let's talk about 4 potential models that might work. And these are just ideas, something to brainstorm with, something to think with. Right now, we really need visionaries in the Ummah to rise up and to brainstorm collectively and collaboratively in order to avert disaster. So some of the ideas. First, if it's because of the economy, due to COVID, inflation, etc. Maybe certain resort areas are not have not been active. Maybe some of them have shut down. Maybe it's possible in certain areas to get a good price to buy, rent, or lease some land, like a resort in a an older resort, perhaps in a rural, remote location, a beautiful location in the countryside, in the mountains preferably. Anytime you're talking about having a piece of land, a piece of property, now this you want to have at least a couple water sources, inshallah. I'm not an expert on these things by any means, but water is very important. So you need a way of purifying water, having a deep water well, having water that comes from spring runoff of the mountains, and a way of collecting the water, a way of collecting rainwater, and then filtering it. Collecting rainwater holds problems because of what's being sprayed in the air. And regardless, we need to purify water sources. Having a municipal source of water, that sounds fine and all, but it's fine for starting off potentially. But if things get kind of hairy and get kind of crazy, then municipalities can cut off the water supply. They can put whatever they want into water supplies, and you wouldn't even know it. There are a lot of rumors online about these things in the current context, and we know for a fact that many communities around the world have been chlorinating their water and putting various substances in there, not removing, the medications, the pharmaceuticals that people are excreting back into the water supply from heart medications, diabetes medications, chemotherapy, etc. That's going back into the water supply, so that doesn't get filtered out. So we want to have the purest, cleanest water sources. So perhaps if you could find a resort type location to buy, rent, or lease, this could be ideal for a few families to start off on, maybe a small resort area. And I'm not talking a fancy resort. It makes it sound fancy, but I'm talking about like a place that's an outdoor retreat location where adults maybe go for hunting and fishing seasonally, and maybe little vacations that has little cabins, huts, so to speak, where that also does like youth camps during the summers. For maybe they go to learn about Deen and also outdoor activities. Some places might have horse barns attached to them, archery ranges, hiking is available in the area, fishing might be available. A lot of the places, if it's in a Muslim majority country, they're going to have a musalla, maybe a small masjid on the property. You might have a communal kitchen there, and perhaps an outdoor kitchen as well, a covered outdoor kitchen that has like wood fire stove for for bread making, for barbecue type of things, for grilling of fruits and vegetables and meats. Perhaps a place already has greenhouse on the location that they used for flowers when it was being actively used as a resort. So, and then you'd have independent huts and cabins perhaps for families. So maybe maybe they have showering facilities within them, or there might be communal bunkhouses and communal showers for sisters and brothers. You just have to look around. You'd have to be knowledgeable and inshallah have connections with locals who might know what you're looking for. That's where having the connections is good, and we need to have better ways of connecting people within community. And so you got the resort model potentially. You also have a potential, and also summer camp, like an outdoor retreat center, summer camp location. Another potential model would be sometimes there are guest houses and hotels near national parks, national forest type locations, wilderness areas that were used in the past by people who were taking family vacations. So a guest house would have independent rooms that have showering facilities. Often they have a communal kitchen because they would produce, foods, for the guests. Sometimes often breakfast, sometimes lunches and dinners. So a communal kitchen location, facilities. Sometimes they have like attached, land space where there could be, like you could have outdoor fire pits. This would be locations where families could get to know one another and bond and share information, and collaborate and come together as collectives. Another model would be to have, if somebody had bought a parcel of land, a significant parcel of land, maybe they've got a house pre-built on it that has the water, the electricity connected to it, and then perhaps on the land they can have wheeled vehicles such as RVs, camper vehicles, perhaps tiny houses with wheels attached, and maybe it's possible to build like an outdoor kitchen facility like I mentioned in the first option. And then in this model it might be possible, or if you could do a year-long lease or buying of the resort facility, have community garden boxes. So each family would have their own garden boxes, and then communal gardening boxes for bigger crops, maybe small garden plots or farm crops for certain grains, bulk items, like onions, garlics, etc., medicinal herbs. You could have build greenhouses, or maybe greenhouses would already be attached to the property. So basically we've got a resort outdoor camp option. We've got a guest house hotel option in a rural area that was used for tourism in the past that might be run down now, not being actively used. The owners want to sell it, or at least have it be utilized and bring some income, bring some money in. And so now we've got that third option of having the property with a number of maybe tiny houses on it. A fourth option might be to have a piece of property that has 1, 2, maybe 3 houses already on it, or maybe a house and maybe little guest houses built on it, pre-built. The house, if you have a large house, it could be divvied up for families, and there would be a communal kitchen facility. Now the thing is, all these 4 options that I'm talking about and any variants, they sound good and all, but there are lots of logistical issues that anybody who wants to make Hijrah needs to consider. We need to consider that the Ummah is very diverse, and there are already conflicts within the Ummah over Aqidah, over vision, on how to set up a community. It's like you've got people who are coming from various madhabs, Salafi perspectives, Sufi perspectives, and so we have to think that there are going to potentially be conflicts based on beliefs, conflicts based on practices. So we want to be as unified as possible going into the situation. Some people have a flexible, visionary perspective and an expansive heart. Those are the type of people that I would want to do something with if I were going to go in. Like I wouldn't want to be in an inflexible type of situation. Some of the potential things that you've got to problem solve in advance would be related to communal problem solving and how to go about doing so. It's fine and good to say Quran and Sunnah, brother, and pretty much, as far as I know, most Muslims are going to be on board with Quran and Sunnah. However, there are going to be many different variables related to this and many beliefs and interpretations of such things. So it's easier said than done. The other thing is what we are moving toward. We're moving into darker times. I see light on the other side of this potentially based on the prophecies, inshallah, but we have to consider that we're moving toward dark times, potential climate lockdowns, what's taking place in Shanghai, whole cities being locked down. So you don't want to be in a situation where you have, and more because of isolation, long-term isolation, and the devil tech inputs that people have taken in. We have to know in advance if somebody is mentally unstable, mentally unhinged, if somebody is a control freak potentially, if somebody gets into a power position, this endangers the whole community that's involved. You do not want to be in a situation with mentally unhinged, unstable people who have inflexible belief systems, that don't have their heart expansive, set on expansive, that don't know how to reason well, that are not problem solvers, that are not strong critical thinkers. Because in other videos I will discuss, we want to have holistic educational models for the young people, but also lifelong learning for ourselves. So we have to think about water, we have to think about food, we have to think about storage, we have to think about how we're going to structure our society. It's a miniature society, and not everybody is equipped to do so. And many people have fantasies about what this is going to look like, that they're going to come into conflict very quickly because of various factors that many of you are aware of, but maybe have not thought about the long-term ramifications of such. So, like I said, we need to think about how we're structuring our society, what the model is to startup, because all those are four startup community options. A fifth option might be to buy or rent houses or apartments in the same location, people who have previous connections, that then they can get together on a regular basis and begin to structure the community, then move into one of those four models as a next phase, and then additionally move to having adjoining properties in the same location where they can meet together. Some other options we need to think about are our interactions with local communities, because anytime you're moving into a foreign land, you are going to automatically be viewed suspiciously. There is going to, so we need healthy ways of connecting to the outside community, and also like avoiding jealousy with the outside. You don't want to like go and be building a pool and then be seen as rich outsiders, that then when things get very difficult, then we don't want our communities to be targeted. This is a problem with making Hijrah to a foreign land, even if you think of it as a Muslim majority nation. These things need to be taken into consideration and carefully considered, brothers and sisters. This is not a little matter. And if people are very obsessed with minute details of belief and not focused, if they're not bringing something to the table that's practical, then they actually become a liability to the community. And we want to have strong communities that are sharing information, sharing resources amongst one another, and then between communities, and interacting in a way that they can share resources like teachers, skill sets, like sharing carpenters, people with plumbing and carpentry knowledge, and also making healthy connections with the local and regional community that share similar practices and worldviews wherever possible, inshallah. A final thing I wanted to mention that I'll discuss in another video: we need language intensive programs in education. These are absolutely critical. This is related to lifelong learning, and also lifelong learning of skill sets, whether it's blacksmithing, whether it's gardening, medicinal herbs, creating tinctures, midwifery. Midwives are going to be necessary. We want to avoid hospitals as much as possible. They're death traps in most areas now, and highly dangerous. So we need to consider these things. Now, as far as the lifelong learning and language intensive programs, we need to think about like a lot of people want to make hijrah, they're thinking they're preserving their deen. And obviously that's going to mean people want to immerse themselves in Quran and Arabic. This has spiritual benefit, and obviously, I have deep interest in that. However, if you're not moving to an Arabic-speaking country, then that actually is an inefficient methodology. Why is that inefficient to focus on learning Arabic? If you are in a country such as Turkey or Pakistan, if you're in Pakistan, you want to focus on Urdu and other local languages, but Urdu is going to be able to get you by. You're also going to be seen as foreigners, and that has targeting issues. However, if you are in a country like Turkey, it's more efficient and more beneficial to be focusing on learning Turkish. Learn the Arabic that's necessary for your practices, and the long-term goal is to learn the Arabic, but we want to have language-intensive programs where everything in your household and around is labeled in English, in Turkish, with transliterations. And you want to have it broken down to the grammar components. You want to view things as a whole. You want to view things in the component parts. You want to see the grammar of the outer world for reading the outer world and reading the inner world. So you're going to need to label people, places, and things in categories. You're going to need to be able to categorize. You're going to need to be able to break down action words and descriptive words, quantities, qualities, colors, shapes, and sizes, textures, sensory related words, and those action words that are related. So you're going to need to have this. We're going to need to develop and cultivate these programs very rapidly so that we can make connections. We don't all have to be fluent, but we all have to be able to manage. So this is actually needs to be a focus for Hijrah. I'm sorry to be red pilling y'all, but I'm trying to give you the information, because otherwise this will be disastrous for most people. And you do not want to be in a position where you've sold all your house, your property, your things, and now come to another country and you're not prepared to make a living, you're not prepared to integrate within a community. There are very few communities that are already established. Like in the apocalyptic Christian communities, they are already established. They are long-term preppers in many cases. They are not taking the mark of the beast nor the precursor. Many Muslims are taking it and have taken it. It needs to be a question. Like you do not want people that are going to shed and be killing and miscarrying babies. I'm sorry to be putting it out there like that, but these are real, necessary, practical situations. And so I see people destroying community online already before communities have developed. They're out engaging in destruction. Some of them might be based in Tel Aviv. Some of them might have wrong-headed views about what the deen is. And that might go in opposition. Like my perspective is we need to recognize that Islam is an organic, holistic way of life. And there are many aspects to this, and that we have been lied to and deceived about what Islam is by a number of people who the evidence of where they've been in the lies is in what they have suggested to do over the past 2 years. If they have suggested that you join a medical experiment, that you toxify your body, that you change your genetics, then they are completely off path, brothers and sisters. And if they've been lying to you or misunderstanding things related to the sacredness of your genetic integrity and your clay, then what else have they misunderstood or been misleading in regard to?